Okay, back in AutoCAD here, we'll go through some other things. Up here on the top, we have our some snap items. These are pretty self-explanatory. This is snap to middle, or to middle between 2 points. This is middle, object snap, snap star, snap plus. This here is for putting in holes. 7/32, quarter, 9/32, half inch, 9/16, and so on. Once you pick it, it stays active, so you can keep picking, and then it also stays at that. So next time you come in and you just repick. First one's solid. Second one is for hidden. I had changed it before the scale, and now you can't see any of the hidden stuff, so they're back to 1.5" scale. This one here is for ellipse. There's going to be times that you have to draw an ellipse in. It's a skewed in plan view, and you need to draw an elevation of it. So you can come here, 13/16, center of ellipse, nearest there, select reference line, and it's going to put that in there for you. We'll make that a lot steeper. Center, pick there, pick that line. You can see that it skews it to the correct, it creates it the correct width based on the skew angle in plan view. First one's solid, second one's hidden. Shear plates, break at intersection. This will break out. There, there, and there. This is divide. Select object to divide. Number of segments 3. It'll put a node at each. It'll put a node in a location on that line, which is equal to however many equal parts, equal segments that you pick. Pitch. So that gives you a rough pitch. So this is for updating XREFs, copy clip, text, mtext, text box. This is going to turn on construction lines on and off. This is for drawing leader, and this is if you just want to add an arrowhead to something. Okay, so that's the toolbar here. From help to the right is our custom stuff. We'll start with decimals. They're all in here. So if you want offset something ½ inch, it'll put it in there. Now, on the side of your screen computer monitor, there is a chart that you can reference until you get all these decimals memorized in your head. So or you can go on here and look to review. There's also standard gauges down on the bottom. The notes, we've got to clean some of this stuff up here. Okay, notes, first sheet notes. AITC logo, whoop, notes, first sheet notes, logo, EC AITC. So that has our logo, also has AITC, which is American Institute of Timber Construction. We are an associate member. And there's stuff with just enterprise, just our logo. Then there's ones with Dan and Tom for Iowa. Those are not used very often because they're all in the layer controlled. They're all layer controlled items over here, but they are up there just in case they're needed. It's for Unadilla, Unilam, their standard note with stain and with sealer, a couple other options. Our standard notes, they get put in up in the right hand corner here. Solid wood specs, wood deck specs can be added down into here should they be needed. Go species treating and all the appropriate items that need to be on the job. Here's a Lamco standard notes. Use only when we're working with them. There are differences in some of the notes, so use the appropriate one for the appropriate person. When we have job that is exposed to the weather, there's many times that it's not treated. We need to have a note on the drawings that says that they're exposed to the weather and subject to possible decay. Minimize possibility, recommend the following: either cover it with flashing or waterproof encasement by others and include weep holes so if water does get in it can get back out, or they can also provide and maintain a good grade of exterior protection. They can put sealer, stain, just sealer, urethane, whatever they would like to put on there just to keep it from, just to minimize the possibility of decay. Column forces and reactions. This we put by connections at columns or arch bases. Engineers would provide us this information. Sometimes if we only partially design the job, or if it's designed by somebody else and we're just providing a detailing service, we'll need to add these some of these notes are a similar note. You have to modify them for each individual job. Just to state more or less that what we have done, what we have not done. Here's an end wall camber note. There are times when a member will be, when we have an arch, where do we have this arch? So this arch, if we anticipate that there's going to be a large amount of deflection from dead load, there's many times that we'll camber this up, say 1 inch, 1.25 inches. That way when it's being constructed, erected, it will come down into the anticipated or desired location. On the shop drawings, the pitch would be shown. Depending on the client, the pitch would be shown as something different than what is desired on the architectural plans. Other customers, we just say camber it up. Raise arch peak 1 inch. Regardless, we put this note on. We've cambered the arch crown up 1 inch due to anticipated deflection. End wall should be built to the floor pitch. Thus, the end wall should be approximately 1.25 below the arch ridge. So, when it does deflect, it will become level with the end wall. If they built the end wall to match the pitch of the arch, when the arch did deflect, it would be lower. It wouldn't be right. So that's the reasoning behind that note. Field welding. Anytime there's field welds added, or anytime there is field welding with the wood members, we need to add this note to keep the stuff wet, protected, fire suppression equipment, short passes, and then monitor it for several hours afterwards. On jobs where we'll use face mount hangers, be it Simpson, Cleveland, USP, or custom hanger that is fastened to the supporting member with screws or nails, many times, or anytime there isn't fabrication in the supporting member, we'll have to put a note like this on. That way the erector can measure the end of the member of the purlin and put the hanger in the correct spot. This also indicates that the tops are flush. Top of purlin is flush with top of header unless noted otherwise. Just a note that calls for a moisture barrier between wood members and masonry walls at all locations. In water parks and wet environments, we'll add this note. So the contractor or owner provide proper control of relative humidity, ventilation, keep it as dry use service conditions. On jobs that are solid timber, we'll add this note on the first sheet. It calls that we've detailed the drawings on a basis of net finish size indicated, and we list them at all the drawings, each member detail. There are variances. Any variances in width or depth should be considered during fabrication erection. It's not a it does vary, being that it's cut from an actual tree. It's a piece of timber rather than a fabricated member size, that the variations, it doesn't vary as much on glulam. When jobs get sent out, many times they get sent out unchecked. We'd add this first note on here. It says they're unchecked. There's possibility for errors, doing it to minimize the approval time. When we submit for fab, we would put these notes on, either one of these. Also, when we submit, we'd add this note. Which calls attention to items that need to be verified or reviewed. Anchor bolt notes. There's times that we send out anchor bolt drawings prior to the actual shop drawings. If the contractor requests this, if it is something that we're going to do, we need to put these on there, because the whole shop drawings have not been submitted. We'll add these on, add this note on. On some mausoleum jobs in the past, we had used this note. On a concrete curb, we would add an extra hole in the base shoe, and if when drilling in for a anchor bolt they hit rebar, we would add this note, call out which holes could be used as alternates. We don't do that very often anymore. Anytime we have adhesive anchors, we need to add this note: install anchors per manufacturer's recommended installation procedures. Coverboard, these get added to the back of the arch. In some instances, if they're exposed, if people can see them, if they're buried in the wall, typically would not have this. It just calls for shop attached adhesive finishing nails. That's for Lamco. Here's for Unadilla. And this was one for Unit Structures, which is no longer around our business, so we don't have to worry about that one. But it is still there. This is lag lead hold notes, just to save some time from typing. This is another spot to save some time for type. It doesn't just plan. This is also over here, just in a different spot. Auxiliary plan, side. Anytime we have some piece of steel that needs to be made opposite of another one, we'll use one of these two notes. This tells them to mark 1R as shown, make 1L opposite. It's just different items to save some time. Also shown in here is Unilam welded assembly. They like each plate specifically called out with its size. Words and phrases are just different items that you can look through in here, or that are in here for when you're detailing. You don't have to type the stuff out always. Calls out slotted holes between plates. If you have to call out bolt heads on one side or the other. Call out center plate on end of tube on a lot of RCP jobs. This consists of repetitive things that are added. We try to make them so you don't have to type them all the same. That way they're called out the same, regardless of the person that draws it. Same nomenclature is used. Wood deck details. That's going to be a different. We'll go through all these, but on a different segment. It's just notes. All quarter-inch plate except noted. There's anytime arc links are shown, we'll add this member or arc links measured along top face of member. You know it's at the top and not at the bottom. We have these notes that we use on occasion for arch bases. We add this note on the very, very rare occasion that we would ever allow arch base to be embedded in concrete, which is not advisable. But this note is here in case it happens. Times when there's camber in members, there may need to be additional field trimming after members are erected, and we add this note on. It's just a cloud. That's not so much used anymore. now that Revision Cloud is in AutoCAD. This is just another note that can get put on the shop drawings for approval. Another note for additional blocking above compression ring. Concrete notes. There's times when piece of steel or top plate or any item's lag heads stick up into the deck. On the rare occasion we'd put this note on there that the erector would have to dap the underside of the deck. There is times that we'll need erection angles. This note will explain it. When you get into a situation like this, there's going to need to be a lot more explaining done than can be done right now. Once we get into something like this, this note will make more sense. It's very, very rare that you will ever need this note, but it's a very important note. This note is in our standard notes now. It calls out that some people, if they're not using a plasma cutter cutting from a large piece of steel, they can use smaller plates, grind, bevel, full penetration weld it, and then grind smooth. That is acceptable rather than using one large plate. Holes in steel, holes in wood. Some customers like this on every sheet. Read the drafting manual to keep up on that. There's a note for knee blocks on the arch. Pre-fit match mark. They can cut back at feathered end of knee block. That's on this portion. Up here, once we get into detailing arch, we can go over that. Nail schedule. There's times when we'll need to put this on. Again, check with the engineer. Usually on jobs where it's required, they will have a copy of this in their calculation packet, and many times this stuff will get changed, so be sure that it is correct for the project you're working on. This nail diameter just shows different diameters for nails. Jobs with a lot of nails, or where nails are used, we should put this on. Pattern shift is a note for the pattern maker. Again, once you get a job like this, it'll be further explanation will be needed. This note will make sense then. This pre-drill wood for nails. There's also one for screws. We put these in our standard notes, but there's times where we still need to add them. So they're in here for nails and pre-drill for screws. That's needed to avoid splitting the member, splitting anything that is being attached with. Just a note, preliminary, not for construction. It's just a scale. This is a note for a sleeve nut. It's a fastener that hides the rod inside of it. In these dimensions here, you'll have to modify and adjust if required. Field drilled, slotted hole note. Just calls that the holes are to be field drilled through the hole in steel are to be centered on the slot as shown above. Equal and equal. On certain jobs we'll have a long strap tie or piece of steel that attaches over the top of several members, and we put this note on there, say install half nails on each side of straps. They don't put 20 on one side and 4 on the other. And this is just more stuff similar to what's over here. Truss notes down here. We put these on each truss detail. Pattern maker to determine lengths and end cuts of webs and posts. There are several people now that we are detailing the cuts for. Checking your drafting manual if all these notes are relevant. Bottom cords, webs, and posts. We finished 4 sides of them. This is a truss listing. Name all parts in there with the size, if it's ship assembled or ship knocked down. The specific job, that's a job by job item if it's ship assembled or not. This is timber weld arch. Use this on timber weld jobs. That's the notes. Settings, the only one you'll need in here is this saver R. This is automatic save time. You don't need to, it's set to 10 minutes. That's settings, you don't need to use that. Now, RCP menu. We're going to go through this all by itself in a different time. Draw 1. This you can use for making PDFs. And it'll save for making PDF, just a pick for doing that. Direct it where to save. There's for limits, and window. Lumber, 2x4, 2x6, 2x8. Down here, insert lower left point, midpoint or right. I'll just pick lower left. It'll put your lumber piece in there. Here's different LVL or LSL. Draw tool. Revision cloud, not needed anymore. Revision delta adds the same thing as this. Utilize the tool palette as much as possible, as it is a big time saver. This is blocks for making block. B, just type in B on the keyboard, does the same thing. Break line, that does the same as these. Connection balloon, that is the same as here, as this one. This is double, and you have more than one listed. That's double horizontal. Those are not in the side menu or in the tool palette. You can add those through there. Here's counterbore, 1.5, 1 5/8, 2, all the different sizes. You just select that, put it in accordingly, then adjust your depth as needed. These two here I don't use. They're made for specific application. This ellipse oblique, can use this on Snapstar. So draw two. Oh, you gotta trim this off. That puts that circle in there. Do you want to erase construction lines? Yes, that draws that for you. It's used on RCP jobs. This side plate, what it does is this is, we're going to put member here, member 5 1/8. So here's our 6 3/4 supporting member, 5 1/8 inch purlin. The side plate, you pick the edge of a member, pick the other edge of the member, near face of the plate, and the distance between the plate, and what it does, it draws those in there. It does work pretty nice. So in that you can set the distance between the member and the plates as 1/16 of an inch. So that's it's a real handy thing to use when you have members that are 90 degrees to each other. This we don't use often. That just adds the lines in there. What we use instead of that, we'd use this Glulam X. Oh, it's that polyline, so let's explode that. And draw that X in there. This you'd use to draw a line from a endpoint in an XREF. This is dimension, arc length. Same as that one down there was. It was right here. Yeah, I don't know what this that's not applicable anymore. Probably be erased. When you are dimensioning something and this dim circle, that's a dim circle, is both those. Now you see that the dim circle is the distance from the object to the tip of the dimension line. It's not the amount that it extends past. That one is dim extension. So, and these are scaled correctly based on your drawing size. So if you're dimensioning at 1-inch scale, it will come in correct. If you're dimensioning at 3/4 inch scale or 1.5 inch, the size will still come in correct. The dim line, that draws that in there correctly. Tick, that's just a tick mark, like that. Here's arrowhead, same as up here. This will put lag in for you. Select all your different lag sizes. This has with a 2 1/4 counter bore on it. Same with 1/2 inch lag, old style. We don't need to use that. Redheads are rarely used, but they're in here yet. Text, this is not used very often. This maybe every now and again. Tie rods, this is all tie rod stuff. It has different variations for different rod sizes, clevis sizes, and so on. Down here is our pin detail. Jobs with tie rods. Go in here, reference this, use whichever details are applicable. in your geometry sheets when using to figure out rod lengths and so on, you can use the stuff shown here. It's just different tie rod stuff that has been done in the past in there. Here's one with just nuts on the end. Different pins shown here. Here's one for a sag rod. The tie rod would go through here. If we have a long span of tie rod, they will sag. So we would use this to keep it from sagging. Here's a sleeve nut that note was regarding before. As you can see, this is a solid piece. The rods would extend inside here. Once they're in there, you can't see how much is in there, so there's a potential that you could have very little thread sticking in there, and that's why we would come back here and insert the sleeve nut note. It's just a pin. There's all the stuff on it. Here's a headed pin. On bridges, on stringers to hold down a deck panel. This is our deck bracket detail for the connection of deck panel to the stringer. This is decking stuff. Use this as a last resort. Use the deck notes in notes. Wood deck, use this stuff rather than these. Should probably erase that out of there. Roof diaphragm, a bunch of information here regarding nailing. If you have roof diaphragm, need details, there is stuff on here. Here's for shear walls. If we have to add shear walls on jobs, we would scavenge as much detail or as many details off of here as we possibly could. There's a note for fastening of thermocal. And here's some tools: socket for 1/2 inch bolt and socket for 3/4 inch bolt. There are times you need to see if you can get a socket into something. And that's the end of draw 2.